How's it going? So, I want you to watch a video clip and, well, let me give you a short context, okay? Back in the days when there was a pickup community, well, it was like flourishing and growing, people were saying that you can pick up any woman regardless of whether she's married or not, loyal or not, doesn't matter. It's all about your skill as a pickup artist, okay? That was the common marketing thing back then. Now, equal that with League of Legends currently, where League of Legends is still popular, where people are saying it's all about your. It doesn't matter what the enemy team is, it doesn't matter what the champions are, what your team is. You can carry as long as you're good. So do you see, like, just draw similarities. Statement number one: it doesn't matter who you're picking up, as long as you're good, you can get a successful result. Get good, right? League of Legends is the same. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the team is, what the enemy team is. If you're good, you're gonna win. Get good. Okay. Now, almost 1.5 decades, almost 2 decades, in fact, later, here is one of the salespeople from the pickup community, right? Here's what he's saying. Now that it died down, look, listen.
There are 3 rules that we abide by when it comes to picking up women. Location, location, location. All 3 rules we live by. That is from the movie Alfie, and it's very true because some cities are just sad. They're not filled with, replete with beautiful women, like Kiev was, just filled with beautiful women. And there are other cities similar that have that kind of positive energy on the streets. And Belgrade, the next one up, is.
I'll link this in description below. But notice the difference between what they were saying then, which was, oh, it's get good, it's all about what you say, it doesn't matter who you say it to. When I remember, like, I talked about pickup stuff community in multiple of my videos, and the first thing I was saying is that no, it's not about what you say. The venue, the bar that you go to is hugely important. And two, who you saying this to is extremely important, right? Now, assuming that you have average, well, assuming that you have average level of look, average level of grooming, you still have to look good. You still have to groom yourself. But as long you don't have to overdo it. You don't have to be. I don't know who's like the hottest person right now. Whatever. I don't know. You don't have to be a Hollywood movie star, right? But you do, like, this is not that important. What you say is not that important. As long as, like, you can keep the conversation going, like, it's not that difficult, right? But what has the most impact is the venue that you go to, because some venues, I'll give you an example. You go to a cheap bar where there is no entry fee, nightclub where there is no entry fee, the drinks are cheap, and it's populated by teenage girls. You come in there, all of them are gonna be extremely hostile. Why? Because every single person that previously approached them was an alcoholic, unemployed, some freaking shitter on the street. And because the bar is free, the drinks are free, they walk in, they get hammered, and they start, like, literally harassing women sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Now, compare that to, like, I went to venues like this, I was like, holy shit, okay, that's not good, we're not gonna go here anymore. Compare that to, we had a venue which was a Rights venue, I think it was called. The entry fee for Rights venue was €25. 25 just to get into the club. And the drinks there were no less than a tenner. So compare that to free pub where drinks are €2 relative to €25 entry fee and drinks at €10 minimum, right? And I noticed that every single woman you approach is very open to talking to you, because there is level of pre-selection that has already happened. Like, there is level of screening that has already happened, right? So who you talk to and where you talk to is huge. It's like the most important thing, right? Likewise, in League of Legends right now, obviously I'm a little bit ahead of my time. I'm saying that, okay, your teammates and the enemy composition is the most important thing. Your gameplay is secondary, right? I would go, if I were to rank, I would say your team, champions, and composition would be probably the most important. Second is the enemy team, does the enemy team have a lot of hard counters to you? That's the second thing. And only then I would look at your skill, right? So right now, the first question, if somebody was come up to me and say, hey, can you coach me for League of Legends? The first question I would ask, how many games did you dodge before you played this game? He's gonna tell me, oh, I didn't dodge any games. Okay, why is that? He's gonna say, oh, I play into anything. Okay, you are playing into the narrative of the Get Good kids that are telling you that you can win any single time, as long as you're good, right? Which is not, it's not a replicable model. I'm gonna get into the science, and for a method to be considered viable, it has to be replicable. Okay, so if some faker gets results and nobody else in the system can get the same results, that system, that method is useless. But I'll get into that later. So you see right now is one second. Oh yeah, the thing I wanted to add, when you watch this video, you will notice the cities that he is mentioning are Kiev, Belgrade, which is in Serbia, I believe, right? I'm surprised he didn't mention Thailand, because Thailand is swarmed with a single woman that are like the cities he's mentioning are basically the same cities where you can, do you know when you can get a wife for free online? Well, not for free, but you can get a wife online just by chatting to her. There are agencies that basically, if you're a single person in America or in some developed country, there are women that are willing to marry you just because you're in that country, as long as you're not a complete asshole. Do you know what I'm saying? So, surprise, surprise, Kiev is one of those actually cities. And so is Belgrade. So is some other cities, like in Russia, there are some cities that swarmed with beautiful women, and they just want to get out of the city. And what is funny to me is that he's like, they're doing mental masturbation of going into these cities, hooking up with women, and then claiming that they're great pickup artists. Do you understand how hilarious that is? It's like you you go to Thailand, into the Red District, and you're like, oh my god, I'm like a super pickup artist. Dude, all of those women are escorts, and some of them are desperate. And the ratio of a female to a decent male is like 1 to 40. So there's 40 females for one decent male. I mean, as long as you are not a complete degenerate, have a job, dress normally, like, you groom yourself. I mean, you're pretty much, that's the level that's required. You don't need to pay $2,000, $10,000 for him to teach you some kind of a magical lines or whatever. See what I'm saying? It's like hilarious to me. And I've been saying this for a long ass time, long time. And Get Good kids, obviously in pickup community, they're like, no, the reason why you got rejected is because you haven't done the routine correctly. It's like the usual. Exactly like right now in League of Legends, you lose the game. Holy shit, my bot lane went 0-25. My mid laner not existent. Jungler first time. Like, the game is not balanced. Oh, now it's because you suck. Get Good. Exactly the same. Alright, so I wanted to get this out of there before I go into some heavy stuff, right? So, okay. So, I think I talked about that. So yeah, so you see right now he's saying location. He doesn't tell you about, oh, it's my magic lines. Like back 15 to 20 years ago, they were saying it's my magic lines. If you screwed up whatever, the set in the bar, they call it set, right? it's your fault. But now he's saying, no, it's because the venue sucks. I've been saying, well, I'm usually ahead of time, so I'm not surprised. Anyway. So, sales. Well, let me just go back maybe. Okay, let me go back one step. Where do the Get Good Kids come from? They come from, this is the formula. A company takes an anomaly or anything, right, where science does not have concrete explanations, right? They then, through marketing and propaganda, they convince enough people that that anomaly exists because of some kind of product. And then they just sell. And because Get Good Kids are gullible, they don't understand statistics, they don't understand the difference between facts and figures. Now, why was it possible? So let's look at this pickup thing, right? So how was it made? There were some guys who were showing some results, you know, they were picking up women, blah blah blah, and they were saying, and they were writing books about how they do it and what they say. Okay? So Get Good Kids thought, oh, it's the magic methodology, it's the magic techniques, it's the magic body language that produced results. Okay? So that was the propaganda. And so they got brainwashed, because if you repeat something enough times, you get brainwashed, right? And then that's how the industry occurred, the pickup industry, because people were attending seminars, thinking, there were people saying such stupid shit, like absurd shit. They were saying that if you're good enough, you can pick up a celebrity who is married, and she's gonna go and hook up with you, because, like, they were basically telling you're basically a hypnotist, brain magical, you know, some kind of a celestial being. And Get Good Kids bought into that. So there were forums, you talk on forums, you see that people are not getting that good results. And people like me who are saying that's because the venue that you were going to and the lady you probably tried to talk to is not a good target, right? Well, the terminology was called target, right? But Get Good Kids would always jump in and they would always tell you, blah blah blah, it's because you didn't do this and that incorrectly. Do you know what I'm saying? It was just complete nonsense what they were saying, right? Now, why they were able to say that? Because there was not enough data to tell you otherwise. The science of it was not yet hard. There was no hard evidence for it right now, right? So, 20 years from now, we're back to square one, where if you want to one night stand, time-wise, it's better off to get an escort. If you want to go on a date, and if you don't have any friends, whatever, you can do online. Like, there are websites, there are agencies that will match you with potential person. This is the quickest way to do it. And now we have the pickup community degraded to literally saying, go to places where there are a lot of escorts and you can get laid. Which is, to me, is hilarious. Just think about the leap from saying, Get Good Kids, saying that if you are good enough, you can pick up any woman, to 20 years later, go to locations where there are escorts and desperate women. Because you are not... Because you ain't getting anything in London, my man. Unless you're, successful dude. Or flying on a helicopter with a six-pack. It just, you get the point, right? Because back then they were saying, oh, looks don't matter. I was saying straight up, dude, looks are huge. And they were like, no, you could be like like some kind of a grunt, and like a misshaped weirdo, like handicapped person, and your magic lines, if you're good enough, are going to work. And I was like, dude, like, this is a cult. There is no way in the face of this galaxy. And then, lo and behold, 20 years later, that's what we have. So, again, I'm gonna draw commonalities. Right now we have League, if you are good enough, you can carry any game, right? Right? Do you see the commonality? If you're good enough, you can pick up any woman. If you're good enough, you can carry any game. And 20 years later is gonna be, you need to make sure that you dodge bad teammates and do not play into bad compositions. Like I'm telling you, for League to continue to exist, dodging and team selection is gonna be a completely different process. Completely different process. You will have like a split between normals, and you will have split between ranked. And ranked is probably, well, I'm not sure how popular it's going to be, because ranked is gonna be like you come in and you can get kicked from the team if you're a shitter. And that's it. There's gonna be like a mechanism. I think I made it. I did a video on this where I showed you this is. Well, one sec, I'll find it. Yeah, so I'll link this in the description below, so you can see that you're gonna have a lobby where you're gonna have a team leader, right? And you're gonna have players popping up, and the team leader is going to select the players, whether he wants to kick the player or keep him in the team. And once this process completes, when everybody, like, the thing I didn't include here is that the player has an option to leave the team as well. So you see, you have this pre-screening mechanism happening with the team leader saying that, okay, are these players actually good for the team? If so, let's play with them. And only then you go into the queue. And once you go into the queue, the enemy team appears, and you start. It's gonna be more kind of it will have more pre-screening mechanisms in the game, because right now the League of Legends operates on the system where the belief is that you can carry any game as long as you're good. But obviously, just like the pickup community, as the science and facts and figures come in, the belief system is going to change, because people will realize, holy shit, like that 0-15 Yasuo was not actually my fault at the end of the day. And I will tell you right now, it's not your fault. Like, the reason why you're losing in League is 99% not your fault, because if you give me a game that you lost and it was Clown Fiesta, I'm not even gonna look at your gameplay. I'm going to look at, okay, which lane was feeding. You're gonna tell me, okay, it's probably, I don't know, mid lane was feeding. I'm gonna look at the mid lane, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at the profile of the person. I'm gonna tell you straight away, this guy does not have proficiency on this champion, or he got counterpicked, right? Or both. Then I'm gonna look at the performance of the most important lanes, which is the mid lane and the bot lane. I will look at the performance of the bot lane, and I'll tell you, okay, your bot lane is absolutely dog shit. They're just disgustingly bad, right? And you will tell me from top lane, well, why did I lose? Because your mid lane sucks, and your bot lane, which is the critical role in the game, they were dysfunctional in the game. And as a result, your impact on the game is zero at that point. Zero. I won many games. One second. Yeah, so I'll link this. Again, I'm just showing you that I swapped the teammates and I got like 100% win rates with insane KDAs. And I can tell you from memory, like from my experiences, that I had games where like their top laner was just smashing. You know what I mean? Like just smashing. But if you look at the game as a design, you have the mid lane, which is the most important role in the game, and bot lane. These are the most important roles in the game, critical roles. And if these roles do not function, you're just gonna lose the map. It doesn't matter what the top lane. Top laner could be like 20-0, it makes no difference. Well, he can't be 20-0, but he'll be like 6-0, right? So your top laner lost 0-6, and you still win the game because the top lane can't really function. If the mid lane and bot lane hard lose, top lane cannot function, because it's not a critical role. Top lane is the worst role in the game from perspective of carry. Now, there are exceptions to this rule, like if you're playing Aurelia, you're playing Jax or Fiora, but I ban those champions and I don't play into them, right? So I look at the enemy, they have Camille, I look at my 06 guy, he's a Trundle. Do you understand? 06 Trundle is still functional. Camille is not playable into Omega Fed bot lane and Omega Fed mid lane. And he's going up against 3 dragons, he's just gonna get melted. And that's exactly what would happen. He would go into team fight, his team always loses. So he's the one person that's left and he just gets blown up because he gets CC'd to death. I like Tryndamere, Camille, like, I mean, you can't kill Tryndamere. You can't one-shot him with your Q, he just ults and kills you, right? And then, like, Trundle being Trundle just presses R and just kills her. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just, it's completely irrelevant what happens in top lane under conditions where mid lane and bot lane. But, again, we're going into the future. That's what's going to be in the future. That's going to be common knowledge. Right now, Get Good Kids are still in the same mode as they are, but over time it's going to change, of course. Okay, so it's the same shit in sales right now. In sales, it's the same shit. When I was doing sales, it was exactly the same. Who you talk to doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the gatekeeper, it doesn't matter what the company policy is. If you're good enough, you can sell anything to anyone. And after 8 years in sales, I can tell you straight up, that's not the case. Because the biggest key performance indicator of a salesperson is the quality of the leads. The most important thing is who do you talk to and how hot is the lead. What are they looking for? How good is the product fit for their needs? And that is all to do, it has nothing to do with the salesperson, it has to do with the lead, right? But of course, salespeople being sales, I'm talking about capitalists being capitalists, they tell you, oh no, we have this XYZ person and he can sell anything to anyone. And I'm like, nope, that's not the case, dude. I'll give you an example. If you read Joe Girard, right? I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's considered one of the best salespeople for cars. He's like Guinness Book of Record. In this book, How to Sell Anything to Anybody, you will come across information where he will tell you he had a safe and he was paying another person to copy the content of the safe. And the safe, lo and behold, had the leads in it. The hot leads. He didn't give a shit about the product description. He didn't give a shit about the scripts, right? Which the sales managers are going to be telling, oh, your script is wrong. Dude, screw the script. It doesn't matter. The script does not matter that much, right? What matters is the quality of the leads. The dude figured it out back then. And he had a freaking safe of the leads. I'm not sure whether he paid somebody to copy because that shit was so sacred to him. He had 2 copies of it. And one of them was in a safe. There was no script in the safe. There was no product description in the safe. There was no... It was all about the leads. It had nothing to do with the script. But right now, because the sales companies want to sell... Sales training companies want to sell you bullshit, they're gonna tell you, oh, that magic guy, blah, 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 that doesn't probably even exist, was able to sell snow to Eskimo. Complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. So that's what I'm saying is... Alright, so I'll probably answer this already, but where do the Get Good Kids come from? They basically come from... companies. Companies create them. And how do they create them? They just basically... They exploit this bug. If you... I'll link the video in the description below so you understand what this human bug is. It's basically if you repeat a lie enough times, a person starts to believe that it's true. And of course, because people are gullible, they don't understand the difference between facts, credible sources, and some dude wearing a doctor's coat and pretending to be a doctor and telling you. They can't tell the difference. So the weight, whether a scammer is telling you something or whether the professor from Harvard is telling you something, the weight of the argument is the same for gullible people, for Get Good Kids, is the same. But for scientists, it's a completely different story. I don't know how do you explain it to a person. Well, Get Good Kids, they're basically like gullible people who get brainwashed by marketing into believing that something is true, and then they start defending that belief, which is actually marketing material. So they start defending the advertising and convincing you that this is true. I'll give you an example. Let's say we take a product. Let's say we have a country where people are very, very prone to having gray hair. I wrote it out in here, I think, right? Yeah. So let's say we have a country where people get gray hair very, very early. Like, I don't know, mid-25, they already all have gray hair. We know that there are statistically genetical people that gonna be immune to this process. So what do? The marketing companies are gonna say, oh, do you know that guy there who does not have gray hair at 30 and everybody else does? That's because he's using our favorite shampoo, which is blah blah blah, the shampoo of Goldilocks hair. Okay? So now you start marketing, you start repeating it. You hire salespeople, make YouTube videos, make advertising, who keep repeating that it's the magic shampoo that will cure your gray hair. And they will show you a lot of examples of people who in fact use this shampoo and they do not have the gray hair. But what they leave out is that even if they don't use the shampoo, they still will not have gray hair. That's because they're genetical. If you get enough people, there's going to be a lot of examples of people who will not have that gray hair, right? But obviously they're going to link it to the product. Get Good Kids are going to get brainwashed, and then they are going to tell you to use the shampoo. But you'll be like, dude, but they are genetical. Those guys who don't have gray hair, it's genetics, it's not the shampoo. But they'll be like, no, it's because you're a shitter. And get out of here. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they're gullible. They're silly. And the worst part is that they themselves have gray hair, and they've been using shampoo for like 2 years, and they still have gray hair. And I'm like, well, why do you have gray hair? Oh, it's because I hadn't been using it. I haven't found the right shampoo yet. They have different marketing companies. Obviously, they're gonna have like 9 different shampoos, and marketing is gonna be like, oh, you first have to find your right shampoo, or you have to use it. Basically, they will try to blame you for not getting the results, not the shampoo. And obviously, Get Good Kids, they're gullible. They're gonna buy into this, and they're gonna tell you, yes, it's our fault that I've been using the shampoo for 3 years and I still have gray hair, but eventually I will get rid of the gray hair. Do you understand? It's sad to some extent. It's kind of like sad, but like, it is what it is, But they come from marketing companies, just manufacture them. It's just that the problem with them, fundamentally the problem, because I've been reading comments a little bit, and I was like, holy shit, well, how are they so off? Why are they so incorrect all the time? And that's because they fundamentally cannot differentiate between different types of truths. So one is factual, one is just marketing. They in their head, the human development index is so low, they are uneducated, so they can't differentiate between what is credible source and what is not. That's because they're just brains are too simple, I don't know how to fix it, honestly. I just don't know. That's something that is on government level they're trying to do, but how do you help them? I have no idea. I'm trying to, because I'm like scientific person. I use data and statistics for everything, factual evidence. If I don't know, I don't know. But if there are hard evidence to say that, something is, I don't know, gray hair is caused by genetics more than the shampoo, I can tell you that that's the case because it's been tested. So that's what I'm saying, is that when you are dealing with Get Good Kids, just remember that they are manufactured by marketing. And that's it. You're just dealing with a machine that is just spitting marketing at you all the time. And they... I don't think... basically, television controls them. And that's it. There's a good saying in success, television can make you rich only if you switch it off. And But like you can see that in their behavior. Like what was it? The League of Legends, the series came out. What was it? Arcade came out. All of a sudden, everyone is Vi One Trick Pony. Like just the movie came out, the cartoon came out, and now everyone is a Vi One Trick. All of a sudden, now just somehow Vi became a viable champion. Yeah, that was before she was buffed. Do you know what I'm saying? Like Yasuo is on the cover page, and lo and behold, everyone likes Yasuo. It's just marketing, So it's pointless to argue with them. Just let them go, right? Okay, so this is an important topic I want to talk about. Okay, so for scientific method to be viable, I probably already covered this, but for scientific method to be viable, well, okay, the best way, why superstar players are always shit coaches. This is because they have genetics and brain wiring. You have to understand things like how many red cells, like there was a debate between male and female runners, alright? So they brought this lady in and they were saying, is it fair that a male becomes a transgender, converts himself to a female, and then starts winning every single gold medal for running? Because females can't compete with males. And they brought a lady who was like multiple time Olympic medalist. A lady, right? And she was saying it's not fair because males have higher stamina. If you take apple for apple, male versus female, everything is the same. Males will have higher stamina because they have more red blood cells in the per milligram of blood, and those red blood cells supply oxygen to the muscle, and that muscle will not produce lactic acid fast enough. Like you have female running and male running, male will have less lactic acid than a female. That's because of those red blood cells. And as a result, they have higher stamina, right? Such a small thing as red blood, the quantity of red cells already impacts massive. We don't even get into the, like for example, why males can bench a lot more weight than females. And females are a lot, you see that you cannot compete with a female for gymnastics. They are so flexible, it's insane. Because they have rounded joints, they have very, very rounded joints, right? That's because, you need to talk about evolutionary person who can explain to you why, the reason specifically why they have rounded joints, why they're a lot more flexible, right? Whereas guys, they have a lot squarer joints, right? So that's why they can bench a lot more weight, right? So that's because, I can tell you probably straight up that because squarer joints will give you a lot more leverage when you're pushing something. So I don't know, if some bear is on top of you, you need to push him off you. You really need to have square joints because you have a lot more push power, right? But females historically, I doubt they were fighting bears. Back in the cave days when we were. Males were like the hunter-gatherers, and females were more of a kind of like looking after the tribe type of style. Because we were living like that for a very, very long time. So that's why males are kind of like more combat-y, whereas females are more sociable. Because they were living in different environments for a long time. But we need to, I'm not getting into that. But you see what I'm saying is that people that are extremely talented at certain things have genetical superiorities, just like those red blood cells that other people simply do not have, so they can produce plays and responses that other people simply cannot produce. I was watching this guy, he's like a superstar League of Legends player, he was coaching this other guy, and it was abundantly clear to me that the other guy that he was coaching does not possess the reflexes that the other guy had, the guy that was coaching him. And I was like, dude, like his problem is not that his gameplay sucks, it's because he's not genetical freak like you are. And that's why you don't see Ronaldo being a coach, because he has genetical superiorities that are not transferable. So when some shitter is telling you, oh, Faker can do it, oh, that guy can do it, it's like you going back to the argument of gray hair. Statistically, there will be people who will not have gray hair at 25 in that society. But that's because of genetics. And this is not something, it's not a model or a method that you can take and transfer it and train a person to achieve the same result. That's why you have to have replicability in the science. For a scientific method to be considered viable, it has to be able to be reproduced. So if I build a system, this is why you notice that my systems, when I present to them, to you, they are replicable. How easy is it to pick Garen, dodge until your enemy is Riven and your entire team is just Smurfs on OP champions, and they just gonna decimate the entire team, the enemy team, and all you have to do is break even on farm. How difficult, with Garen, how difficult is it to use this system? Not difficult at all. We can take a lot of people who are not talented at League and they can produce similar results. This is the system that I consider to be replicable and useful, as opposed to some shitter get good kid online who's going to tell you, TF Blade or some freaking Viper can play Riven, which nobody can play. Even challenger players cannot play it, because if you look at the ladder, there's like 2 Riven players, right? And they're like, oh, he can do it. Well, what about you? I will ask, like, get good kid, what about you? How well are you doing? He's like, well, I'm not even playing Riven because I suck. I feed at her. Exactly. What do you play? Garen. Exactly. And why do you lose? Oh, because my teammates fed. Exactly. Exactly. So we're going back to the same shit where the guy, he himself has gray hair, and he's telling you that you're a shitter, that you have a gray hair, even though he himself has it. And the reason for that is because he has not yet got good. And that's, to me, that's just sad. So I'm just saying that his system is not replicable. My system is replicable. So before you start grinding or going after anything, some kind of a medal, whatever you want in life, look at the average result of this. Is why I push people into stock investment, and I say buy pension and index funds, because the average result in the worst case scenario in index fund is 8% per year with no taxes, as long as you don't sell. It is the most brain dead, easy to replicate, easy to do, everybody gets results, brain dead shit. Go ahead and do it. Now, if you want something extra, set up a separate account. By all means, you can experiment, but I promise you, you will not outperform the market, right? It's the same shit I'm telling you. Dodge the teammate if you play League of Legends. Like, dodge the teammates. Make sure you don't 100 pick. You make sure you're not hard countered, right? Play easy champions like Garen, Trundle, whatever, right? And I promise you, you're gonna have better results than you trying your Riven in play every single game. You're gonna have like, I don't know, 48% on Riven and like 80 plus on Garen. I promise it's going to happen. Just test it. I mean, like, it doesn't take a genius to. I mean, there they are, you know. I already tested it, so I know it works. Yeah, so I'm just saying that don't tell me about results of a faker. I want to know the results of the average Joes in the system. What results are they getting? And as you notice in League of Legends, the average Joe results are always the same. The team is feeding, he can't win. The team is not feeding, he's winning. You do the conclusions yourself, right? Alright. So who are the Get Good Kids? They're just marketing machines, basically. So they're just gullible people who don't understand statistics, and they cannot differentiate between what is a credible source and what is not. So they think that the guy wearing a coat with a beautiful white teeth, good haircut, is same credibility as a Harvard professor, which is very sad, but that's because they're uneducated. I can't help them. Neither can you. The governments, there are government programs to get them out of the gutter, so it's up to them. It's not your responsibility to educate them. So again, if you're looking at any method, first thing you look at, what does the average Joe get? And then obviously through training, if you're hardworking, you can get better results than average Joe, but always look at the results of average Joe first, as opposed to looking at results of the Faker, because you have to remember that Faker has genetical advantages that you do not. Like a good example of Superman. You ask Superman, hey, how do you destroy a tank? He'll be like, I just fly in there and just smack it and the tank blows up. Well, most of our soldiers who are humans cannot do that. So, who is the best person to ask? The best person is an average Joe who survived multiple battles and was able to do it. And then you ask average Joe, how did you do it? And he will tell you a completely different story to Superman. That's it. So I covered this. Yeah. So League, again, like, I don't play it. I haven't played it for like a week now. I'm not going to come back because, like, the idea of your teammates determining your outcome is not appealing to me. And also, the system of, I call it League of Carry. I'll link it in the description below the document, right? You can just Google League of Carry and you'll see the system. It's basically you're playing only draft normals, or you're playing flex ranked, and then you pre-select your teammates, and then it takes 2 to 4 hours per game just to win a game. And a lot of the games when you play it are just bot games, basically, like, because when your team is just stacked full of good players, you obviously going to perform well because it's you're reliable, you know. And the game's like 15-18 minutes, so it's like you just smash the enemy team and that's it. Because of the winners and losers queue, like, because in my opinion, League is using engagement optimized matchmaking system, so there's always the winners queue and the losers queue, so you're always playing in the winners queue. And what usually happens in the winners queue, the enemy team gets smashed. If you're in the losers queue, you get smashed. It's like 42-8. The score is 42-8. Their jungler took all the dragons. Their bot lane is smashing. Like, and you're thinking to yourself, "Holy shit! I have 3 kills. How am I gonna win the game?" And I will answer you the question: you're not going to win the game, unfortunately, because I play in winners queue all the time, and sometimes, as I said before, we have top laner just going 5-0 on the enemy team, and I'm telling you, from perspective of winners queue person, he's not winning that game. I will not let him win that game. Because what's going to happen? I already made a lot of videos on this. Me and jungler are going to start roaming top and going to start killing that guy. Or consuming resources. He can flash, he can run away, but the fact is he can't lane, he can't get minions, he can't get kills, and we're taking the turret. So our top laner is getting ahead. And we're gonna take all the dragons. And in the team fights, because his team is so shit, they're always going to die, and he cannot 1v5 because we're Omega fed and we have a Baron buff. It's just, he's not winning the game. That I promise you. So some shitter coach is going to tell you, "Oh, this is what you should have done the game." I invite this coach to play against a team that I assemble myself, and I give him 4 extreme feeders, and I want to see him carry the game. When I'll be 17 kills, my bot lane is 20 kills, we have all the dragons, we have all the control. Their bot lane is not even in the game, one dude is AFK, best of luck to him. You know the outcome. Okay, so recommendations, so that's the conclusion. It's not your fault. A lot of the times, it's just marketing bullshit, right? So always look at the statistics and credible sources. And finally, recommendation: never ever listen to Get Good Kids. They are basically cult members. They're brainwashed. They're just brainwashed. Right? They're just brainwashed by marketing. And avoid systems where only top 1% get results. So think about League of Legends as a system, right? Yes, we do have evidence where extremely talented, genetically gifted people, their brains are wired for League of Legends, right? The way they play, the method of basically how they make decisions is extremely favorable for this environment where they play. So they sometimes lose, but I mean, they can pull off like some impressive win rates. I'd say 80% is not that impressive for an Omega talented person, but they can do it, right? But again, how many other people can do it? No one. No one can do it. So that system is useless. We're going back to replication. Scientific method to be viable has to be replicable. And their systems is just like, you're talking about a pyramid where 1% of people getting some kind of results, and at the end of the day, okay, even if you do somehow train yourself to get something similar, let's say 75% results, what is the benefit of this? And how long is it gonna take? I mean, think about like the system is you either, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it. So I covered it so many times, I just don't want to get into it. It's basically like you asking yourself to lock yourself in a room for 10 years and play a pool of champions that very rarely get changed. Shit like Jax, for example, Garen, possibly, Gragas. So you have a pool of champions that are stable. Because, you know, like you could play Riven and then Riot just nerfs the shit out of the champion and you become useless, right? So you need stable champions, and then for 10 years you'll be grinding, and then you can, the max you can produce without being talented is probably like 70%. Average Joe gets about 55, but you get 70. You're still gonna lose like a lot of games. And the benefit of doing that is poverty. You become poor. Holy shit. And become a degenerate. So why would you do that? So don't do that. And that's it. Alright? But the reason why I think this happens is because the Get Good kids, they annoy the shit out of you and try to convince you that it's your fault. But you have to remember that Get Good kids are the cult members. So you just have to wait. Don't listen to them. I mean, honestly, just like forget about them. They're just like, just look at what the science. What does the science say? Because you have to remember, eventually, we were in the beginning. If you're good enough, you can pick up any woman. 20 years later, when the statistics came in, science has credible research. Now we're into go to locations where there are plenty of escorts and you can get desperate women, which is a bit different, right? So League is now, if you are good enough, you can carry any game. 20 years, it's gonna be dodge the bad teammates and only play into compositions that you can win, which I already showed actually produces results. Alright? So again, I will finalize the video with this, is that it's not your fault that you're losing games in League of Legends. It's not your fault. It's your teammates and the enemy composition. That is the most important, right? And if Get Good kids are telling you this bullshit, you have to remember that they're just cult members. And they're basically marketing, they're brainwashed by marketing, and they're gonna tell you what the company wants them to tell you. Because they are unfortunately controlled by television. The television can make you rich, but only if you switch it off. Okay? Take care, bye-bye.